Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast, brought to you by DirecTV, 1-800-259-7646. Also brought to you by RVRealtor.com. If you're buying an RV or selling an RV, check out RVRealtor.com and the Dollar Shave Club. Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Got an exciting interview coming up later this morning. We're going to be visiting with FayeHueston. Now, this is really cool. She was one of the 20th Century Fox girls way back in the day. I think that's what it was. I got to look through the info here, but she worked for one of the studios, so she was in several movies. And she's got a really interesting story. She's got a book out called Fanchan's Daughter, and Fanchan is her adopted mother. It's a cool story. Anyway, stick around. That's coming up later in the program. Also, according to a survey by America Online, they found the average American worker wastes over 2 hours a day. And if they're talking to America Online subscribers, it's probably just them getting on the internet still. What are you doing? Trying to get on the internet. Bong, beep, brrr. Remember all that stuff?
Dial up.
Yeah. Researchers also have found unexpectedly a huge difference in the genetic makeup of individual human beings, meaning the so-called genetic map could be wrong. So they're saying that my genes might not fit. Well, I already knew that. All right, we got some real news coming your way, some fun stuff to chat about, and we appreciate you joining us on a Wednesday edition of the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Get razors for $1 a month plus a few bucks shipping, so you can enjoy fresh razors every month for as little as $3. Learn more at dollarshaveclub.com/radio.
Heidi, do you ever feel like you're burning the candle at both ends?
Yes.
Like working so much that you're just, oh man, you're always busy doing something? Well, that might impress your boss, but you could be sacrificing your health in the process. A study published in The Lancet finds strong connections between people who work over 55 hours and cardiovascular disease. Those who work such long hours were to have had found to have 33% increased risk of stroke and a 13% greater chance of developing coronary heart disease compared to people who work the standard 35 to 40 hours a week. They also have a higher chance of missing all the shows they wanted to watch. That's just me. 55 hours a week. I'm trying to think. How many hours do you think I work? Is that pretty close to that?
I think you work.
I know for a while there I was working like 80 hours a week, but I've cut way back. So
yeah, you have.
I
you've
think
gotten
I'm probably
a lot
closer
better.
to that 55. And I don't mind that because I love what I do. But if it's going to give me a higher risk of heart disease, I maybe shouldn't be doing that. Coming up, we've got your fun story, the Heard It on the Radio, and we're going to talk about bank robbers doing something dumb. Imagine that. It's on the way on the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RVRealtor.com. If you want to buy or sell an RV, go to RVRealtor.com. List your RV for free. Learn more at RVRealtor.com.
Well, you know it's true because you heard it on the radio. Listen to this. Bank robbers are kicking themselves right now for passing up what would have been the easiest bank robbery in history. Shortly past midnight, one Thursday in Argentina, an after-hours ATM user alerted police after finding the door to the bank was left wide open.
Oh, my gosh.
Police responded. They surrounded the bank. They thought there was a robbery in progress. After an exhaustive search, police found no evidence that anyone entered the bank. Nothing was missing. The branch manager says the bank employee replenishing cash to the ATM prior to leaving work for the night probably forgot to close the main door.
Oh, my gosh. I bet that person got fired.
Well, they were suspended. Doesn't say that they were fired.
Wow.
But it does say they were suspended. So, yeah, we got that going for us. I remember I worked at a radio station way, way, way back 20 years ago. And at the end of the night, the person that would leave would lock up. And then I was usually the first one there. I did the morning show, so I was the first one there. And I would be the one to come and unlock the door. And I remember showing up one time, and the door was unlocked, and the wind was like blowing it in. Because it's, like a business door. It doesn't latch. You just push it and it opens. So it was really windy, and the wind was blowing, and the door was kind of pushing in, and I saw there were lights on, and I was thinking, who's here? There are no cars here. And it was the freakiest thing ever because I was afraid to go inside. I'm like, do I go in? Is there somebody here? What would they be robbing at the radio station? We don't have anything here. So I'm like shouting in, hello, anybody here? So finally the guy that was on the other station showed up, and the two of us went in together and felt like a couple of idiots when we realized that there was nobody there, and the two of us were sneaking around like characters in Scooby-Doo. I was like, which one are you, Shaggy or Scooby? Because I think I maybe got the Scooby going here. So it was. Have you ever done that where you come to work in the morning and saw that the door was unlocked all night or anything like that?
No, but at our radio station, we've gotten a phone call from a security guard one night that said the door.
Right. When we had a
was
different
open.
office.
Yep.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
So there you go. A lot of fun stuff. And I remember one time we got a call, I got a letter from the police because we left our garage door open, which I thought that was kind of interesting. So, well, there you go. You know it's true because you heard it on the radio.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again?
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. A man goes boating and drinking at the same time. That's not a good combination. Drinking and driving, that's stupid. It's also dangerous, and there are laws against it. But now there are also laws against drinking and boating. And here's a prime example of why that is a valid law. A man who had been drinking heavily decided to take his friends out for a little boat trip. He was cruising the boat, and he got a little drowsy, all that booze, and he fell asleep. He took off in Denmark, ended up in Norway.
Whoa!
The boat across the entire Skakarga Sea. Did I say that right?
And his friends
Probably
didn't
not.
notice.
Well, I think they were all drunk as a skunk as well. Anyway, they took off from Denmark. They ended up in Norway. They were drinking. That's why it's not a good idea to drink and drive, and it's also not a good idea to drink and boat or drink and float or drink and anything. That's what happens when your brain is on drugs. Coming up, we've got a guest. We've got Faye Houston. We'll be visiting with Faye Houston about a book called Fanchon's Daughter, and it's a really cool story. It's a true story about her mother and her search for her biological father. It's a fun story, and I'm looking forward to chatting with Faye. That's coming your way before you know it. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Keystone Treatment Center. Addiction is no laughing matter. Call Keystone Treatment Center toll-free at 1-844-204-1055.
Now your moment of duh. An IBM warning label makes today's moment of duh. The packaging for the IBM Compact Flash Microdrive declares on its packaging that it can withstand shocks of 1,500 Gs. That's like an enormous shock. But then, in very small print right by it says, warning, do not drop. So, we can withstand the impact of 1,500 Gs, but please don't drop this because we can't withstand that. There you go. That's your moment of duh. Coming up, we have your scoop of the day, and I've got some fun stories in the scoop of the day today. Also, we're going to find out what day it is. We've got all of that coming away, and we'll be visiting with our guest, Faye Houston, with Fanchon's Daughter. That's on the way on The John and Heidi Show.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now your scoop of the day. Police say the parents of an infant who was locked in a hotel safe in Niagara Falls, Canada, will not be charged. Yeah.
What?
The child was placed inside a small safe in a room at the Howard Johnson Hotel last week by an older sibling during a game of hide and seek. The safe door was locked. The parents called hotel employees who then opened the safe. So it's not like
okay.
It was an accident.
I was thinking they were using it as like the babysitter so they could go to the hotel bar or something.
Once you heard the rest of the story, it made sense why there were nobody being charged. But kids, don't play games like that. That's a bad idea. I remember
must be a much larger safe than any of the hotel safes I've ever seen in my life.
Or it was a very small child. One or the other.
Very small, flexible child.
Here, let me squeeze you in here. And push you. Got them all stuffed in. I can't even fit my wallet in those safes usually. Then again, I need to clean out my wallet. The other day I did do that. I found coupons that were expired in there. I'm like, why am I carrying these things around? All right, Dictionary.com announced that 4 out of 5 adults claim to be good spellers. Females are the most confident. 87% say that they are good spellers. Heidi, are you a good speller?
I am a good speller. You
Heidi,
always ask me how to spell things.
Heidi, am I a good speller?
Not at all.
She's right. I'm not. Quite often I'll spell something, then I look at it and go, that doesn't look even
right?
That doesn't look. You know you're bad when Word documents can't even figure out what you're trying to say. They're like, I got nothing. I have no clue what you're trying to say. All right, 38 emojis are being considered for release next year by the Unicode Consortium. the group overseeing emoji standards across all platforms. Among the candidates on the list are bacon, a pregnant woman, a cowboy, a clown, and a person taking a selfie.
So stupid.
I don't use emojis.
So stupid that this is the sort of thing that we consume our time worrying about.
I didn't know there was such a thing as a Unicode consortium.
I had no
Can you
idea.
imagine somebody out there is trying to explain to their grandmother what they do for a living? They're like, I work for the Unicode consortium. She's like, what's that? We make emojis. Well, what's that?
Yeah.
Well, the things you use on a smartphone. Well, what's that? Grandma, don't worry. Here, I got a good job, I promise. All right. Australia's new unseated prime minister reportedly went to the bar with staffers and lost his job last weekend. He celebrated with a wild night of partying. Tony Abbott even danced with his shirt off. So it sounds like the newly unseated prime minister doesn't mind that he lost his job. He's like, hey, I'm having a blast. We're now being told that social networking websites are causing alarming changes in the brains of young users. Neuroscientist Susan Greenfield tells us that sites like Facebook and Twitter are to supposedly shorten attention spans in people. It encourages instant gratification. It makes young people more self-centered. You know, because you got to have a place to put all those selfies, right? So there you go.
Agreed. Yep.
Over here, it used to be if somebody said they didn't have a TV, you just looked at them funny. Nowadays, if they don't have cable or if they don't have satellite, no rabbit ears picking up over-the-air HD. You guys are weird. But you know what? Today, zero TVers are becoming more and more commonplace. In 2007, the number of households with no TV was just over 2 million. Today, it's over 5 million. Because they don't use TVs. They watch things on a little screen now instead of a big
Right.
screen. So we have televisions in our home. We have radios in our home. We have those kind of things. There are some things we don't have.
But we don't have as many televisions as we used to have.
No, we don't. We've got basically one.
There used to be one in almost every single
Yeah.
room, and
We
now
have-
we've got two.
Yeah, we have two, but we have one that we watch, and the other one that I completely forget we even have.
Right.
I watched it the other day. I was like, oh, hey, we got a TV in here. Like, I've never come in here. What do we have? Oh, we got time for one more thing here. A Mediterranean-rich diet of fruits and veggies and olive oil and a little wine can cut the risk of heart attacks and stroke by 30%. So they're saying get out there and enjoy all of that stuff. That's from the New England Journal of Medicine. Many studies have shown people who eat Mediterranean diets are less likely to die of heart disease. So you better start liking that Mediterranean diet. You know what's in it again? Fruits, veggies,
Wine.
oils.
All I heard
a
was
little bit
wine.
of wine. Yeah. Heidi's happy with the wine. Time for a strange law. In Utah, birds have the right of way on all highways. So if you hit a bird, you could actually be charged with you were the one that caused the accident. And
If you did it on purpose.
You owe no. Birds have the right of way on all highways. So they're saying, hey, you're at fault. So your insurance doesn't have to pay. You got to pay for the insurance of the bird. That's the way it works. All right, that's your strange law. And this has been your Scoop of the Day.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RoughToughKennels.com. Dog kennels and accessories sent to your front door wherever you live. Your dog deserves it. Learn more at RoughToughKennels.com.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show today. We've got a special guest joining us. Author FayeHueston is with us today. Faye, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
And you've got a really interesting story, and you've got a book that you've put together, Fanchan's Daughter, but let's talk about the story. First of all, this goes back a little ways. You've had a pretty fascinating life. You spent some years as a 20th Century Fox starlet. That's kind of cool. That's something that not many people can say.
No, well, it's only part of the interesting life I've had.
Definitely. And I'm looking here, as you were growing up, you got to spend a lot of time at Buster Keaton's Hollywood home, which is really kind of a cool thing.
Yes, I grew up in his villa in Beverly Hills, which my parents bought when his career took a dive, and he had to sell his beautiful home. And my mother was then coming up to the prime of her career, and so my parents were able to buy it, and it was wonderful because it had these huge grounds and lawns and a huge swimming pool and an orchard. It was ideal for children.
Well, it sounds beautiful. Now, the reason that we're visiting with Faye, you've got a book called Fanchan's Daughter, and the thing that's really cool about this book, it's a memoir about your life and something that truly happened to you. You were adopted as a child, and later in life, you adopted children, and you, at that time, decided, I wonder a little bit more about my birth mother, and you went on quite a journey to find out more. Tell us a little bit about how that all started.
Well, I would like to correct something.
Okay.
Most adoptees do want to find their birth mother. I wasn't at all interested in my birth mother because I had a wonderful mother. My Fanchon was not only an important person in Hollywood, but she was the most loving, wonderful mother, which is why I've written this book, to pay tribute to her. But my father, who was a very good man, unfortunately he had a difficult temper, and it exploded from time to time, and this was very difficult for me to live with as a young girl. And I often wondered what my real father, or rather my birth father, would have been like. And I think that simmered in the back of my mind all my life. And then in my 40s, I became overwhelmed with a desire to find him. And it was really my father I was looking for.
As you went on this journey, you had help from quite a few interesting places. Talk about the journey. How in the world did you even get started on this?
I lived in England, and I had a friend. I would go back to Los Angeles and see my father was widowed at that time, and I would see him every year. And while I was there, I read a book by an adoptee who had found her birth parents after a 20-year search, and that's what sort of sparked my desire to embark on the search myself, which I never thought I would ever do. But when I came back to England, I asked my friend, he'd been trying to interest me in the paranormal, which I wasn't interested in. And but I said, do you think a clairvoyant would help me find my father more quickly, because he would have been 70 by then? And this friend said, I don't know, but I will send you to the finest medium in England, who I know. And he sent me to her. Her funny name was Ina Twig. And my sole purpose in seeing her, I'd never been to one before, was just that she might say, your father is in such and such a place, and then I could find him quickly. Instead, first she told me a lot of things about her. She knew nothing about me. I told her nothing, and she didn't want to know anything. And I didn't know anything about my parents. I only had just discovered their names on my birth certificate. And she told me everything about my mother's career, which was theatrical. She kept seeing a stage and music and dancing on it. How could she know this, I thought, but I was very skeptical. But then she suddenly got on to my father and told me my father was on the other side, meaning he was dead. Well, that had to mean my birth father, because my adoptive father was still alive. I didn't want that to be true. I didn't want anything she told me to be true, which is what made it all so much more extraordinary. She told me he was dead, that he'd been a heavy drinker, and that he felt great remorse for what he had done to Sarah, and Sarah was the name of my birth mother. I had meanwhile I had hired an investigator in Los Angeles to try to find him. And 3 months after my meeting with Mrs. Twig, I received his report. Everything she had said was true. He had died a year before I started to look for him. He had been a heavy drinker, and he lived in a home for alcoholics. And there are other things, it's too long to go into, but it was remarkable. It was one of the most extraordinary events of my life.
That's fascinating. And what year would that have happened?
I think it was 75.
As you were working on your search, how did that make you feel when you found out that he had passed away? Did you continue on the search to find out more about your mother, or were you kind of done with the search?
Well, I was curious about her. Obviously, when I say I didn't have any interest, I had no emotional desire to meet her because I loved my mother, and I had such an acceptance. I wish every child had a mother like Fanchon. But I did want to know who she was, what happened to her, and just to know where you come from. So I did. It took me 3 years to find her. And even then, I only found her thanks to, I went to see Mrs. Twig again, and it was a very unsatisfactory meeting. But there were a couple of little clues I used when I went back that summer to California, and one of those clues helped me find my birth mother.
And the thing that's really neat, talking about your adoptive mother, Fanchon, a very interesting life that she lived. She became Hollywood's first woman movie producer, and the first film that she put out, she was one of the people that helped discover young Betty Grable, which is really cool as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. I remember being on the set of that film with all the actors, even though I was very young then.
And now, so you've got all these fascinating things that have happened in your life, and you decided, I'm going to put together a book. When did you start working on Fanchon's Daughter, a memoir? When did you start writing this?
I think think I started about 35 years ago.
So it only took...
But I haven't been working on it all this time. I worked on it for a couple of years, and then I became very ill, and I had to put it aside for quite a few years. And then I took it up, and I've also had to learn how to write because I had never been formally... I left high school because I was hired by... I was in the senior play at high school, and an agent saw me, and I did a screen test at Fox, and so I was there for a few years. And I didn't go to college, so I never really learned how to write properly, although writing was what I always wanted to do. I had no desire to be an actress, but my mother, she had the theater in her blood, she was hoping I would follow in her footsteps to be a dancer or a singer or something. So a lot of it I did to please her, and because it was fun. When you're young, those things are fun, but it wasn't, I never had a calling to be an actress.
Well, it sounds like you've led a very fascinating life, and a very, very interesting story that people can read in the book Fanchon's Daughter, a memoir, and we're going to talk about where they can get that in a moment, but something that anybody listening that may be adopted or maybe is in a relationship where they were the one that put their child up for adoption, what was the meeting like when you first had a chance to meet your birth mother? How would you describe that meeting?
It was very pleasant. She was a very nice lady. She'd been a stenographer all her life. My father, too. My birth father had been a stenographer, I learned. I learned a lot about him, too. She was very pleasant, but I didn't feel anything other than respect for her. It was not the kind of meeting I've read about where so many adoptees, rush into the arms of their birth mother and feel this instant sort of connection. I didn't feel that, and I'm glad I didn't feel it because I would have felt that I was betraying my adoptive mother, and I wouldn't have wanted to do that.
Now, at this time, your adoptive mother had already passed away, but your adoptive father, Bill, was still around. How did that affect your relationship with him?
I didn't let him know. It would have hurt him terribly. He was not... I never would have searched for my parents if my mother had been alive. I didn't want to hurt him, and it would have hurt him. I think he maybe suspected that I was looking. I don't know, but it made me appreciate him more, I must say. And of course, now that I'm no longer young, I'm quite old, I see all the good things about him, which I appreciate so much more. He was a wonderful, caring father. He just was born with this difficult temper, but that's all.
And isn't it amazing how, as you get a little older, you look back and your perspective changes on things, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. I mean, the early versions of the book I wrote, I looked at one the other day, and yes, you do, I hope you grow and have a better sense of balance as you get older.
Well, it's been absolutely wonderful visiting with you, Faye. Let's talk about the book, Fanchon's Daughter. It's a memoir. And where can we buy that? Where can I find a copy of that?
Well, of course, Amazon is ubiquitous. I would hope maybe Barnes & Noble. I really don't know. I should actually make a point of finding out. I'm sorry, I should have done that.
No, that's okay. And the good news is, people listening, if there's a bookstore that you like to go to, I guarantee you, if you go to them and say, hey, I want to get this book, Fanchon's Daughter by FayeHueston, and Houston is Hueston, so if they go in looking for it, I guarantee you they're going to find it out there somewhere. And it took 35 years to write, but it won't take that long for us to read, right?
I hope not.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us. This really has been an absolute honor to visit with you, Faye. I appreciate you doing what you've done. A lot of fascinating things in the book, and I'm excited to read it myself. So thank you very much for taking the 35 years that you took to put it in writing.
Well, thank you. It's been a great pleasure.
Well, thank you again. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Again, our guest today has been FayeHueston, author of Fanchon's Daughter. You can find that wherever you like to buy your books, available on the big book sites as well. Thank you so much for joining us on the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by CarsForSale.com. If you're in the market to buy a car, truck, or van, find thousands of vehicles to choose from at CarsForSale.com.
Today is a very special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask. Today is Checkers Day. You know what Checkers Day is?
I know what checkers are.
Well, you're wrong. Checkers was the name of a dog, and today is Dogs in Politics Day, but they call it Checkers Day because of a famous dog named Checkers. He was the president's dog. Hey, it's also Mabon, Mabon. I don't know what that is.
I have no.
I'm going to Google that.
No idea
I might even be
what
saying
that
it wrong. Today is the first day of fall. Can't you tell? First day of fall today at 4:21 a.m. Fall equinox happened. Today is National Rehabilitation Day, and it's Restless Leg Awareness Day. I get that. But I'll be sitting there, and I'll be, like, kicking my leg around, and you're like, would you stop it? I'm like, I didn't even know I was doing it.
Restless leg syndrome is when
you
your
kick
legs
around while you're
almost
sleeping?
hurt.
Oh.
Like you cannot, no matter
what it
what,
is.
get into a comfortable position.
This is why they need a day. Now I know what it
Yeah.
is. See?
My daughter and I both get that.
You guys have that?
Awful.
Well, it's Restless Leg Awareness Day, and get the word out there, because apparently we don't know what that is. All right, coming up, 9 things teachers wish parents knew. That is on the way, so get out there and celebrate your stuff, like, fall and Restless Leg Day, and we'll get back to this in just a bit.
This portion of the program is brought to you by StoneGroupArchitects.com. It's more than a building. It's design and function working together. Check out the project portfolio at StoneGroupArchitects.com.
Parents, do you ever wonder what it takes to help your kids do their very best at school? I thought you'd never ask, Heidi. Good Housekeeping went to work, and they found all of this. 9 things teachers wish parents knew. Number 1, don't be a stranger. Talk to your child's teacher early and often. They're saying don't wait until conference time. If you think your kid's struggling, go and see the teacher and say, hey, my kid's an idiot and doesn't know what they're doing. Can we get some info so we can help them? Maybe you don't do it that way. Next thing, learning doesn't stop at 3:15. Make sure your kids do their homework. Every time they get a chance to show off what they know, it builds confidence. So you can say, so what'd you learn today? Now explain that to me. Tell me how that works. And every time they tell you that, you're actually not only helping them learn, but you're learning something too. Next thing on the list of 9 things teachers wish that parents knew, stay involved. Even if you don't know the material, you can still provide a little moral support just by staying involved. That helps motivate students. Next, keep your child organized. Oh, my goodness. We had that issue with our son. Remember his book bag?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember why we went in there looking for something, and you're like, what is this? This stuff is from, last year. Why do you still have this in here?
Both of our children have a problem with organization.
Kids run out of pencils and paper. It's going to be 3 weeks before they remember to tell you, so stay involved and help them stay organized. Number 5, let your child make mistakes. There are some parents that won't let their kids make mistakes because they're like, my kid would never make a mistake. It's okay to let them make a mistake. So if they make a mistake, encourage them to, solve it rather than saying that it didn't happen and blame someone else. Number 6, raise a good reader. It says here, if your child is a natural-born bookworm, it can encourage them to love literature. Help them keep reading, like during the summer and Christmas break and things like that. And it says, if you need some inspiration, use audiobooks as a tool to inspire them for their love of reading. And here's another thing you could read to them. That's cool. Number 7 on the list, if the teacher deserves a good grade, give it to her. Give her one. So teaching isn't easy. Sometimes you need to encourage the teacher that, you know what, you're doing a really good job. My son is really interested in this, or my daughter is really interested in that. Let them know. They need to hear that. Number 8, the teacher's on your side. Give her or him the benefit of the doubt. And then number 9 on the list of 9 things teachers wish parents knew, there is a secret to better grades. Do you want to know what it is?
What's that?
It says set up a brief get-together with your child's teacher early in the school year. One-on-one conversations are the perfect time to bring up important issues like the fact that your child struggled in math last year. The secret is you ask questions. You find out what can they do to get the help that they need. So if you want to know, all you got to do is ask. Mm-hmm. Those are the 9 secrets teachers wish we all knew. So now we all know. Coming up, the sweet smell of success. That's on the way on the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by DirecTV, 1-800-259-7646. Also brought to you by RVWheelator.com. If you're buying an RV or selling an RV, check out RVWheelator.com and the Dollar Shave Club. Here's John and Heidi.
After a long run, what's the first thing you want to do, Heidi?
Drink some water.
Yeah, maybe sit down. How about smell your socks?
Ew.
That's what some University of California Davis cross-country runners did after a 10-mile run.
Ew.
Before you think they're really weird, you should probably know they were doing it for research. The socks were developed to eliminate foot odor. The good news is they actually work. The fabric inventor told the fabric's inventor, UC Davis textile chemist Gang Sun, says the technology could have benefited have benefits far beyond the sweeter-smelling locker rooms, including infection-fighting hospital scrubs and linens. So he developed this fabric that does not get dirty,
right,
and it doesn't take on scents. It actually helps have a sweeter-smelling locker room, but also infection-fighting scrubs and linens. So that's good news. That's really cool. So there you go. After your next run, maybe you want to sniff your socks and see if it works. I don't think I want to do that. All right, we're going to head to Bulgaria for our next story. That's on the way on the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by GunUp.com. If you're a gun lover, you'll be in heaven at GunUp.com. Built by experienced military veterans, shooting sports competitors, and publishing professionals. They have awesome stories and articles that are read by millions of gun enthusiasts. Check it out at GunUp.com.
Teenagers in Bulgaria have come up with an unusual way of getting out of school. Are you ready for this?
I am ready.
Getting head lice intentionally.
Oh, that's so disgusting.
They've taken it upon themselves to create a head lice plague by infecting their friends with head lice on purpose. Because if you have head lice in Bulgaria, you cannot go to school. They started it after they learned that students with head lice get to stay home for 3 days.
Oh, my gosh.
This regulation was aimed at stopping head lice spreading, but it has worked against them, especially when there are a lot of exams. All of a sudden, there's a huge breakout of head lice.
Oh.
So I wonder if somebody's got like a head lice farm. They're like raising these little things saying, hey, I'll sell you some head lice. Because that's the kind of thing
that is just disgusting.
Capitalism at its finest.
And it infects your whole house. It's not those kids.
It's gross. I'm trying to think of who we knew that had it, because I remember like a little calm we were trying to help. I don't even remember who it was. Who? Oh, well, it was a friend of ours. Anyway, we won't say who, just in case they're listening. But, yeah, it's not fun if you ever had to deal with it. Coming up, we've got money wasted. That story on the way.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. You can get razors sent to your door each month for just $1, plus a couple of bucks shipping. It's an amazing deal. Log on to dollarshaveclub.com/radio to learn more. That's dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
Well, here's a good investment, Heidi. Do you belong to any clubs where you have to pay a certain amount each month to be involved? You might want to
really.
Well, I do. You might want to reconsider, because in most cases you're losing money doing that. Listen to this. Economists at the Stanford and UC Berkeley found that consumers waste a staggering amount of money every year on membership fees for things like credit cards, health clubs, video rental clubs, cell phone services, because they think that they're going to use them more if they do that. They said in almost every case, it would have been cheaper to take the pay-per-use option. For instance, 8,000 people who bought a one-year membership at a Boston gym, 80% went so infrequently, it would have been cheaper to just pay the $17 per workout fee. So if you're paying a monthly fee to belong to some club that you never go to, some gym you never go to, some golf course you never go to, they're saying maybe you should reconsider that, because chances are you're not really getting your money's worth. Now, the good news is we don't go to a gym.
No, we don't.
But I remember at a time when we did, I actually tried to go every single day. But then we would get to a point where we'd get busy, and it would go months before you'd make it back. And
you always start off with really good intentions with something like that, and then it just kind of goes by the wayside.
What are other things? Video rental. Now, we don't have like the video rental place that we go. We don't pay a monthly fee. I remember when they first opened, we did. Do you remember I got a card? Because it wasn't a monthly fee.
Yeah,
but
you could do an annual thing.
Yeah, you'd pay a certain amount per year.
And even that, it was better off to not do it.
Yeah, because then what they would do is they would take like late fees off. If you had a certain number of late fees, you got that many, and there was other things on there too. I don't remember what it was. But they're saying if you want to double check and triple check your budget, make sure that you're not paying for things that you're not even using anyway. All right, coming up, we got some good news for you. That's on the way on the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by DirecTV. Call 1-800-259-7646. They have hundreds of channels to choose from, with many packages to fit your viewing desires. Learn more at 1-800-259-7646.
Time for some good news, Heidi. This is actually a story from, let me look and see on the calendar here, maybe 2 weeks ago, September 11th. That was the day, it was a terrible day in American history. Well, there was one company, and I saw this story, and I was going to use this last week, and I didn't use it, so I wanted to use it before it's way, way, way too late. But on that day, 66 men and women who worked for an investment firm called Sander O'Neill and Partners on the 104th floor of the World Trade Center, 66 men and women lost their lives that day. Following the terrorist attacks, the group that owned this corporation said, you know what, we are going to set up a foundation to pay the college tuition for all of the children of the fallen colleagues. So there were 76 children total. So far, of the 76 children who lost a mom or a dad on September 11th at this particular firm in the World Trade Center, 54 of the young men and women have had their college tuition completely paid for.
Wow.
22 young men and women are still eligible but have not gone yet. Some of them are still in school.
Right.
The neat thing is the 54 who have attended or are attending college have gone to almost every kind of college imaginable. Some went to Stanford or Notre Dame. Some went to community colleges. Others went to technical institutes. So even though they said, we're going to give you your entire college for free, some did say, well, I'm going to go to Stanford, which is cool. I'm glad that they were able to do that. But there are others that said, I don't really need Stanford. I want to go to
I want to stay
a technical
close.
college.
I want to be,
That, to me, is such a cool thing that just because they had an open checkbook and someone willing to pay for it, they didn't say, I'm going to bilk you for every penny I can get. They said, you know what, this is best for me. I think that's
nice.
a really neat thing. If you'd like to read the story, I've got a link on our Facebook page, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to a Wednesday edition of the John and Heidi Show.
Time now for the bonus break. Only available here on the John and Heidi Show podcast.
And the bonus break is brought to you by the Dollar Shave Club. You can learn more at dollarshaveclub.com/radio. When you go there, you're going to find some amazing deals. You can get razors for as little as $3 a month delivered right to your door, and you don't have to go to the store. They'll bring them right to you. The only thing they won't do is shave you. So you go on the thing, you buy them for $3 a month. They'll send you the razors, and it's a cool thing. Check it out, dollarshaveclub.com/radio. We watched a movie not too long ago called God Is Not Dead. Remember watching that movie?
Yes.
In that movie, there was a teacher that was very disgruntled and made everybody write God is dead on the paper. And then after the movie was done, I was watching the credits, and it was based on a bunch of cases where something like that really happened. Well, there's another one now. And this is a true story. A teacher at a Texas university who banned his students from saying God bless you in the classroom. If somebody sneezed, God bless you.
Wow.
Can't say that in my class. Well, he received disapproval from his students and the university. According to ChristianHeadlines.com, the teacher, who was not identified in the story, teaches at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. The teacher didn't want his students using the phrase God bless you in his classroom. He even wrote the prohibition into his syllabus, which stated, please refrain from saying God bless you during the class and during exams. In response, a number of students took issue with the teacher's decision to ban the phrase after a photo of the syllabus went viral on the internet.
Wow.
The university also did not approve of the professor's decision. They had him remove it from his syllabus. So
I would have removed the teacher from the classroom.
well, that didn't happen. But at least the students have the right now to say what they feel is something that they want to say. And I think that, to me, is a good idea. Half the meat and poultry sold in the supermarket could be tainted with staph germs, a new report suggests. This is going to help me with this diet we've been talking about. The estimate here is based on 136 samples of beef, chicken, pork, and turkey purchased from grocery stores in Chicago, L.A., D.C., and Flagstaff, Arizona. Oh, and Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Proper cooking kills the germ, and federal health officials estimate staph accounts for less than 3% of foodborne illness, far less than the more common bugs like Salmonella and E. coli. The new study found that more than half the samples contained Staphylococcus aureus. It's a big long word that we just call staph. A bacteria can make people sick. Worse, half of those contaminated samples had a form of staph that resisted the 3 kinds of antibiotics known to help with staph infections.
Yikes.
That's why they call them staph infections. It's because of that big Staphylococcus thing. I never knew that. I thought it had to do with people working at the hospital. It's a staph infection. You mean I'm allergic to the people that work here? All right. Delta is being criticized for the new bargain basement class called Basic Economy. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
It's a new class from Delta. It's being offered. It's a bargain basement, cheaper Basic Economy class where many of their traditional services of an airline have been removed. So
such as?
I don't know. I'm wondering that. I'm wondering if that means
seat?
after you're not going to be able to. You're going to have to
no airbag.
sit on your luggage. You know, when we push the button and all those things drop down, you don't get one of those. No. So I'm not exactly sure what they removed exactly.
I mean, they're already all pretty much no frills anymore, aren't they? I don't know what else they could take away.
You don't have overhead storage. You can't bring bags along. Matter of fact, you need to help push us away from the terminal. That's what you sign up for this ticket. Work for it. All right, one last story. Kid idolizes his neighborhood mailman. In Knoxville, Tennessee, 4.5-year-old Carter Lawson idolized the mailman. He was initially interested in the mail truck, but the two now walk through the neighborhood delivering mail and talking to neighbors. Carter's mom even got him a little mini mailman outfit. How cool is that? So he just thinks it's really cool that I have a sister that is can I call her a mailman? What would I call her?
She's a mail person.
She's a postal
mail
carrier. Postal. I have to ask her what I call her now. I don't know. She's a mail woman. Whatever that means. No, that'd be Bruce Jenner. He's a mail woman. I don't know what she is. She's a postal officer. Whatever. And I had several relatives that have done that. So that's really cool. The kid likes it so much that he's got his own little outfit now. That's going to do it for our bonus break. If you'd like to know more about Dollar Shave Club, go to their website. You can ask me, but they can tell you so much more. DollarShaveClub.com/radio.